The webinar will be recorded and it'll be posted on the Louisiana Sea Grant website, and we'll have closed captioning available. We also plan to share on our Facebook pages for Louisiana Sea Grant, Water Institute, Restore Retreat, and otherwise. So just another reminder that private chats do remain part of the transcripts. So if you have something to say to somebody, don't forget that part about the private chat. So thank you for being on with us today. We want to tell you a little bit about how we work as a team, how we got together with the Water Institute and the Louisiana Sea Grant. And to be able to do that, I'm going to turn it over to Melissa at Sea Grant.
Hi, everyone. And so as soon as I am host, I am going to be able to share my screen with you guys.
Voila, Melissa, you are now host.
All right, so share my screen. So can everyone see my screen? Should be able to see a PowerPoint. Yep, I'm seeing some head nods. So welcome everyone to our webinar today. We are very excited to host a webinar about hurricane preparedness right at the beginning of hurricane season. And so I want to introduce the team. And so this is webinar is presented by the COAST team. COAST is a group of 3 organizations that have been working together on issues dealing with coastal resiliency for residents who live particularly in Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish, but the information that we're looking at really can be applied everywhere across the coast. And this is presented by BHP. They're providing funding for us to work on these projects. And so the group is made up of 3 different programs: Restore Retreat, Louisiana Sea Grant, and the Water Institute of the Gulf. And so we're just going to go through, and each organization is going to provide a little bit of information about who they are and what they do.
Hey everyone, good morning. My name is Victoria Segura Bork, and I am the Special Projects Coordinator for Restore Retreat. Just to give y'all some background on us, Restore Retreat is a coastal nonprofit organization with a focus on the Barataria and Terrebonne basins, which are 2 of the most rapidly eroding estuaries on Earth. We address this issue with our mission of advocating for long-term, large-scale projects to restore our coast and the Bayou region. Our organization was created in the year 2000, so this year we are currently celebrating our 20th anniversary and 20 years of engaging communities and urgently implementing restoration solutions consistent with the state's coastal master plan in the areas we call home, especially when we are faced with hurricanes, as we will be discussing today. So I want to thank y'all for being here, and I'll pass it on.
Hi everyone, I'm Nikki Pace with Louisiana Sea Grant, and I'm joined by 2 colleagues today. You've met Melissa Daigle, and Jim Wilkins is also here. So Louisiana Sea Grant is a federal-state partnership. We are housed at the at Louisiana State University. And our mission is to really connect the university research to our coastal stakeholders. We work in 4 focus areas, one of which includes resilient communities and economies, and is really where our work fits in with this project.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Scott Hemmerling. I'm the Director of Human Dimensions with the Water Institute of the Gulf. The Water Institute's a nonprofit research institution located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I think we're probably the baby of the group here. We started in 2012, but we do a lot of applied scientific research. We have an engineering section, we have a coastal ecology section, a geology sediment processes section, and then the human dimensions section, which I lead up. And one of my colleagues, Jesse Parfait, is on the call with us also. And a lot of our work revolves around community resilience, and the Human Dimensions program in particular deals a lot with community engagement and social science and making sure that the voices of the community are brought into the scientific process.
So thanks, everyone. So I'd like to take a minute just to introduce our speaker. Ruby Douglas is the Section Chief of Preparedness at the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. And she's going to be talking to us today about why it's important to be ready for this hurricane season, especially in light of the fact that we're dealing with COVID-19 and everything else that's going on. And so I am going to switch host over to Ruby so she can share her screen. Okay, Ruby, you should be ready to go.
All right, do you see my slides? All right, you get a thumbs up? Okay. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for asking me to be y'all's feature presenter today. I'm really excited. I do not want the graphics to get everybody alarmed, but you know, we are looking at different things relative to this hurricane season. And so just kind of wanted to kind of provide a kind of an overview about where we are at the state level, and then the things that we're trying to actually engage for the local level as well. You'll notice this hurricane season, I actually took all the predictions from Colorado State, NOAA, and the weather company. Everybody has their predictions. They do believe that this hurricane season will be a very, very active season. So I took the liberty of actually just taking the mean from everybody's predictions. We're looking at possibly 16 named storms, 8 hurricanes, and up to 4 major hurricanes. That's Cat 3 to 5. What we've noticed, and I actually have borrowed some slides from the National Weather Service, is what we've noticed is that and I also provided the names of all the hurricanes if you wanted to kind of go ahead and get your t-shirt ready and prepared. I think we've already had the first one author, and we look like we're getting a lot of other tropical issues within the Gulf. This season, we're looking at those named storms, but we're looking at this due to the lack of El Nino and high La Nina, which is those coastal, not coastal, but those wind patterns that we see relative to weather. The Atlantic is normal, actually warmer than normal at the long average temperatures, and we're looking at more fuel for tropical cyclone development to cause more intensity. Also, we also are looking at unstable atmosphere. If you noticed this weekend, it was very, very hot. We're looking at a lot of different events. We've not, even though it hasn't been to that hurricane level at this time, but if you notice the weather events that has happened over the last couple of weeks have been very intensity. So you'll see it's favored for organized thunderstorm activity, and those conditions are very favorable for what we see as our tropical outlook continues. I borrowed this from GOSIP, actually is responsible for a lot of the state coordination for emergency management across the state. And what we've looked at, and our partners at the National Weather Service have put together more specific to kind of depict how the water temperatures are warmer, and also what we see regarding the predictability patterns that you've seen from those other sources that I've already identified. And what we look at is we're looking at this to be not really seasonal outliers. Do not tell you where the storm will make landfall or how strong that we will be. We just need to be prepared that they're going to be very, very active this season. And I'll just tell you, as a part of it, as we impact every year, we're looking at what we need to do as a part of planning at the local level and building that capacity. So depending on where it hits, we do also know that storm surge is a real big water killer. Even in a regular rain event, we could have flash flooding. And so this diagram actually depicts storm surge and the rain, and how that water can be very detrimental to lives. And so we're looking at that relative to the causes of fatalities it causes, as well as it being responsible for the majority of fatalities. Okay, so at GOSIP.
Ruby, this is Simone. Sorry to interrupt. Is there any way that you can click on participants and see if anybody's in the waiting room, just so we can let some, we might have some folks waiting.
I do. Okay, I'll admit them all.
Yeah, let them all in. We won't discriminate.
I just want to make sure they bought a ticket. So let me see. There's
Yeah, we're checking tickets. Thank you, Ruby.
Do you need me to loop back around, or do you just want them to go ahead and catch up?
No, I think you're okay. We'll just keep moving. And if they have any questions, they can put it in the chat box. Thanks, Ruby.
Okay. All right, you're welcome. And I just wanted to kind of talk about where we are as part of preparing. And this is a little bit of a different kind of scenario when you're actually planning for a pandemic. But we do ask folks to continue with their regular preparedness plans of really kind of looking ahead. And that means looking right now. And so that preparedness really begins at the individual level, and we're encouraging folks and pushing out information on a daily basis to make sure that people have their individual family disaster plans ready. And so that means making sure that they have disaster supply kits relative to water, food, and at least those essentials that are necessary for them to sustain their livelihood at that time. We also want them to make sure that they are keenly aware and have batteries and charging ability ready and standby, so they can maybe watch and also listen to their local news. It's going to be even more imperative this hurricane season as local officials get ready to gear up for hurricane season and make decisions regarding coastal evacuation. So I would just tell you, it is predicted for those decisions to be made at an early level, just to make sure that people can get out of harm's way and maintain the social distancing requirements as we kind of still push through this pandemic. So when we're looking at that, we're not just talking about making sure you have your food ready, not enough making sure you have your batteries ready, but also to plan ahead and making sure that you have face mask, hand sanitizer, those equipments as a part of personal protective equipment. All those citizens that do need that personal protective equipment will be provided that if they're having certain assisted evacuation routes that they have to take. In addition, now, it's also important, as you know, when we talked about water being the biggest factor as a part of, trying to save lives and protect property, it's important that we get citizens to start looking at their emergency budget. And since this is a little bit different because, with COVID-19, we're trying to make sure that people maintain social distancing as a part of making sure that they limit exposure. And so it could be that they need to be looking at, where are they planning to go? Do they have relatives? Do they have personal protective equipment? Do they have monies for a hotel stay? So those are some things that they need to be looking at right now. In addition to that, they need to be reviewing their insurance policies, and especially those regarding flood insurance. It's important that that is the most cost-effective way for making sure people have a means to recover after a storm. Even in the floods of 2016, we know that there was a lot of people that had homeowners insurance. Some of them even had flood insurance, but they didn't even have contents. So it's important to dust off those papers, contact their local insurance agent so they'll know exactly what kind of coverage they have. And flood insurance is inactive within 30 days of it being secured. So it's important for them to be looking at that now. I'll just tell you, based on even weather events that we've had in the last recent months, flash flooding occurs very frequently. So it's important for us to make sure that citizens are looking at those other means to make sure that they are maintaining their safety as well as their property safety. And again, I can't say it enough, listen and heed public officials' warnings to evacuate early if those will happen. We do know that it's kind of a last resort to actually put contraflow in place, but you want to make sure you do that way ahead of all the other evacuation practices that will be planned for this hurricane season. And then again, I want to re-echo the pandemic considerations that are very primary and actually up on everybody's mind right now. including a individual mask for everyone. Now, I know that some people have talked about, does everybody get an N95? Well, if you're not dealing with COVID positive patients, then a surgical mask will actually protect you from having the droplet spread. It's important to consider that everybody around you, if you're around them, that they are just assume that they have COVID-19. There have been lots of cases with people that with asymptomatic symptoms, and it's important for us to continue to reinforce social distancing. And I know that that's hard in our state because I'll just tell you, we're that huggy type, and it's important that we maintain. So be thinking about yourself as you look at your bed, and just think about there's one bed between you and everybody else, or 2 arm length distance between you and everybody else. Social distancing is something that's still going to be put in place. And the other thing is to make sure that you protect yourself and others while you're sick. Hand sanitizer is also going to be something that will be on your family disaster plan, as well as disinfectant spray. So, and again, it's important that make sure that you wash your hands very frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. So those are some good health hygiene and hand hygiene practices that we still need to be in place for this upcoming hurricane season. In addition to that, I will just tell you, we have worked with our partners for the Louisiana Department of Health, and we have provided certain resources to kind of help people, because a lot of our citizens have been isolated for some time. The Department of Health has a toll-free helpline called Keeping Calm During COVID, and its number is there displayed on the screen, 1-866-310-7977. That's 1-866-310-7977, and it provides emotional supports and links to callers in the local government entities. In LDH's world, they have 10 regional offices, and they provide more support if more crisis counseling is needed. And just recently, within the last week or so, we have contracted for the state to have a crisis text line. And so citizens can actually text REACHOUT, and that's in all caps, all together, to 741-741. And it connects to free, confidential, 24/7 crisis counselors via text. And I'll just tell you, if you're feeling kind of stressed, even on this conference, you might want to just check it out. It is very comprehensive, and it provides a lot of support. And so really excited about those resources. In addition to that, we also have a conquercovid19.la. It's a clearinghouse website that provides a lot of tips and resources. So I encourage you to share that with your stakeholders and partners so we can get all these resources available. I mean, I know it's an additional step that we have to take this hurricane season, but it puts everything into place, even to the tips of maintaining your health and well-being. We know that if we get rest, we're eating right, we're able to actually cope more efficiently, especially during crisis. So I encourage you to share these resources as I put forth them. In addition to that, I will just tell you, it's important for us to stay active. I'm not going to be the person that tells you that you have to drop 30 pounds before hurricane season, but we know that we're able to cope more efficiently and effectively when we're getting the sleep, we're maintaining calm, we're also getting the rest that we need, we're maintaining active, whether that's walking every day to just kind of decompress, or to maintain making sure you're drinking enough water and catching rays. So I kind of want to make sure that if you can kind of, resiliency begins with that individual. So if they can start putting these best practices into place, they can be more resilient to be able to put things in place. And then get a game plan. I'm really excited. It's not ready just quite yet, but I will just tell you, we have modernized the Get a Game Plan website. And this is the tool that we have here at GOSEP, and that we're educating at the local level, and also encourage folks to make sure that they push this information out where people have user-friendly tips and tools and templates so they can put their plans in place. So that is coming. If you go to the same website, we'll still have the same website, but it's going to look real different. it's going to be more user-friendly, and it's going to have a lot of other tools and that you can actually download so the citizens can make sure that their individual readiness is good to go. Also, oh, I think my screen just stopped. Okay. Emergency public information. Let me go back to that slide. Okay. We do have on our website the Louisiana Emergency Preparedness Guide. Really excited about this publication because it provides, it's a how-to for everything. And I think it's important that you can download it and actually review it at your leisure. In the back of this publication, it also has a My Preparedness Plan where folks can actually use this as a checklist for themselves and their own family readiness plan. The Joint Operations Center, the Joint Information Center is our press staff when a disaster does happen. Our communications director, along with the public information officers and press people from all the other state agencies, work together to make sure that the accurate information is pushed out to the public. And we also have the Louisiana Emergency Alert Network, which provides up-to-date emergency alerts for people about the weather. So those are great tools to make sure that you have easy access to real-time and real workability and materials that will work for somebody's individual readiness. In addition to that, we have public information, different radio spots, print, social media platform. GOSIP has a Facebook page, and we push out a lot of prevalent information as well as Twitter accounts. I will just tell you, if you don't have access to those now, I would tell you make sure that you become a friend or like it so you can get updated information. In addition to that, we also have a podcast that actually provides a lot of great tools, and we ask you to kind of subscribe to that. Recently, we just featured Dr. James Hussey, that he is the Assistant Secretary or Medical Director for the Office of Behavioral Health, and provided a lot of good wellness and mental health tips for people dealing with COVID. So those are just a few of our platforms that are doable to make sure that people have great information to be able to put them into their everyday lives. Also, our Get a Game Plan does have the, has been updated, so upgraded so we can have a real app so people can actually download that information directly from their phone and use it as they're going. Okay. In addition to that, we do have a website called emergency.louisiana.gov, and it is like a one-stop shop of all emergency information at your fingertips. It'll also provide road closures to just general information regarding the weather event. In addition to that, it does have very valuable links to other agencies and other support functions that are very, very timely, and they have resources available too. Our FM alert, a lot of y'all may have that as a part of getting signals, and some of you may also download your regular WAFB news apps or in your weather apps. That I would just tell you, I would encourage you to do both. There has been times where signal towers have gone out, and we've provided emergency alerts directly to communities. So these weather alerts also provide you anything, the latest, the greatest that's happening in that area. So I encourage you to push that out as well to your stakeholders and partners. In addition to that, that's our website, our social media app that actually provides a lot of information. Upon an incident being set up in our system, we do push out timely information so we can keep the public aware and abreast of all the things that are going on. Twitter, I've mentioned that. Just go ahead and follow that. I'll just tell you, it's not, and some people may see it as overload, but I like to get as much information as possible so you can make decisions. So I encourage you to, and then I'll just tell you, we do have a generation that might be not as techno savvy, but it's important to engage those other volunteers in communities that may be an ambassador to help support those non-tech savvy kind of people, because if they had the weather alerts and those information affixed to their phones directly, they will have immediate access to them. So I encourage you to be creative with that. And then again, here's a little podcast thing that our communication directors put together. I'll just encourage you to continue to provide, even some of the old versions of our podcast are still really relevant, from hurricane preparedness to insurance to volunteerism. There's just multiple different things of highlighting great resources to be very viable for local citizens. Here's some additional resources that I wanted to kind of talk to you about, is how we provide points of distribution guidance if that is needed, if there's an issue with retail grocery stores. We do have state plans in place to address those issues, as well as we have the University of Lafayette has our contract for our Louisiana Business Emergency Operations Center, and it provides a lot of support for those major economic industries, as well as critical infrastructures and resources to handle emergency management. I say even in the pandemic, they have been a catalyst to help facilitate more donations relative to PPE and hand sanitizer. It has been very unique to try to make sure that businesses are a part of the response in the recovery phase. And then here's some warehouse information regarding where we stockpile some of our resources. In our interoperability relative to mobile and our wireless network, we have several displayed throughout the state to make sure that our communication is tight and that it maintains during the weather event. Also in our state, we have a unified shelter plan. We actually have worked with our local and regional stakeholders to make sure that we are doing what we can to make sure the contingencies are developed for this upcoming hurricane season. As you know, I've talked about social distancing and PPEs relative to this. We're going to have to be looking at sheltering a little bit different. We do know that folks need to get out of harm's way, and that some folks need provisions made for them because they need a place to go. And so we still have those regular shelters in place, but we're going to have to be more creative relative to maintaining the social distance. So that could mean that we'll have an additional shelters resources being put in place, or having to be very strategic about how we do the sheltering for this upcoming hurricane season. We do have host agreements with other states, but I will just tell you they're actually in similar situations as we are. A lot of our host states have not been able to agree to receive our citizens due to the COVID situation. So we still maintain contingencies relative to communication with them, and if those situations may change. But it looks like for this season, we're just going to have to be very creative regarding the sheltering situation for the state of Louisiana. In our preparedness efforts, I'll just tell you, we were getting down to the guts and trying to look at different ways to make sure that we were planning for resiliency and recovery. In fact, this upcoming, before COVID happened, we were looking at disaster case management and long-term recovery subcommittee work groups to see what local capacity needed to be continued and sustained to build some recovery. As you know, a lot of our folks are still dealing with trying to recover from past storms, and they just don't have the resources. So we really wanted to look at planning in a different way of looking at those vulnerabilities. We've also, from a search and rescue perspective, looked at doing a tabletop. That was done this past Christmas, and we just completed our rehearsal of concepts drill regarding this hurricane season before COVID was right and ready. I do have one showcase that I really am proud of and excited to announce that, as you know, a lot of our citizens have ingrained in their head that once a disaster happens, they automatically going to receive federal assistance. And that's usually not always the case. Federal assistance is actually based on for individual assistance is based on the magnitude of the storm, of how many damaged homes there are. GOSIP has been very creative in trying to develop a public self-report survey where we can actually have local citizens upload their damages into a web-based system. So we can do preliminary damage assessments with the local partners. This has been a catalyst of really doing things very innovative at state and federal level. In fact, the Easter storms, the weather event and tornadoes that happened in North Louisiana, we were able to activate that, and with our partnerships with the State Fire Marshal Office, was able to verify preliminary damages for that area and was able to get SBA, the Small Business Administration, to do business loans for those survivors. So that's the first time where we've been able to get recovery right there, boots on the ground, within 30 days after an event. So don't hold me to that, but I definitely think as we look at using technology to better support and better be able to tell the story of what's going on in communities, it helps us to be able to plan more effectively and more efficiently. All right, and I want to start right now and ask if there's any questions. Go back up here to, I guess, to the, I can't get to the chat but thing. Are there any questions or comments? Did I go too fast?
I believe Nikki was also watching the chat, and so she can help facilitate if any questions did come in the chat. But if you have any questions, feel free to type them in now.
So we have one question coming from, well, we have a few coming in now, so I'll start with the first one. Are there new or different emergency shelters being opened this season as a result of COVID-19?
You know, at this time, we are exploring any and all options because we do know that we have to maintain social distancing and support. I will just tell you, a lot of our plans do not change as a part of making sure that we have parish-to-parish pickups. We will make sure that there are appropriate PPEs in place. Social distancing will be observed, and we're going to do the best we can for that. So while I can't identify all those at this point, I will just tell you that we're still exploring any and all options regarding sheltering to make sure that we are doing everything efficiently relative to this pandemic and to get people out of harm's way.
And so we have another question come in that's kind of similar to that, but is asking if there's any lessons learned from the Easter weekend tornadoes in terms of evacuations as well as the sheltering issue.
You know, I'll just tell you, I think that we hadn't really had an opportunity to do our after action review on that event, but I will just tell you, I was really excited about the parish's ability to already identify their local needs. And I think that that's really critical as a part of this, because when we look at any storm, whether it's a magnitude of a hurricane or magnitude of a small weather event, it's important to know where your vulnerable populations are and what are your immediate needs to address those. And I will just tell you, you have great resources and networks in existing communities that can help shelter, help with feeding, help with other needs assistance that are just right there at your local level. So I was going to tell you, if you haven't been meeting with them now, you need to make sure that you have a party and do a Zoom party to make sure that everybody is talked to, because that's the most unique thing regarding response and recovery, is being able to get boots on the ground and services to people that need them.
So we don't have any other questions in chat right now. As a reminder to folks, you're automatically muted when you join, so you can unmute yourself to ask a question, or you can post the question in chat and I can read it out to everyone, whatever you're comfortable with.
So we have a few more resources that we can share too. I think Melissa's going to go over some, and then we'll directly address some specifically from the parishes. So Ruby, if you can transfer back to Melissa, we'll go over some of those resources.
Okay, and let me remember how to do that. Okay.
And thank you, Ruby. That was an excellent presentation.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for that.
And any feedback,
I learned lots.
This is the first time we've done it virtually. I'm more animated when I'm in person, so I'm glad that I didn't get to do all that in person. So Melissa, you're now the host.
Okay, great. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. To talk about some resources that we have. So can everyone see my screen? Thumbs up. Yep. Okay, great. So the first resource I want to talk about just really quickly is our Louisiana Homeowners Handbook. So our handbook has been out for several years, and we're very excited because we have a new edition that just came out. This is the 4th edition. The printed copies are waiting at the office for me, and this is it right here. It looks a little different if you're familiar with it. The cover has changed, the size is a little bit different, but it contains a lot of the same great information about hurricane preparedness. And so it talks about hurricanes, you know, what hazards we face, but not just hurricanes. It also talks about tornadoes, flash floods, any hazard that you might face living along the Louisiana coast. And so in addition to talking about those hazards, explaining what they are, there's some great information about how to make your house more resilient, whether you're building or what you can do if you have an existing house, how you can strengthen it. There's information. The radio stations that we mentioned, there's a list of all of the radio stations that provide emergency preparedness. There's a checklist for your evacuation plan, what you should pack in your grab and go bag, all of those things. And so this handbook is going to be available this week on the Sea Grant website, which there's a link there, but you can also get a printed copy. So if you email me with your name and mailing address, we can send you a copy for free, while supplies last. We have a limited number of printed ones. And I will provide that contact information in the chat box as well. And then we were also going to see if there were any parish emergency folks on who wanted to share any local information. And I know Simone had some information too. So we'll just give it a minute. If you are a local emergency preparedness person, just unmute yourself.
So Melissa, I'll just jump right in and we'll see if they're able to join us. I was able to touch base with 3 different parishes, mostly in our service area. And so I wanted to make sure that we went over those resources so that they can be helpful to you. So I talked to Parish President Archie Chasson this morning, and he wanted to remind folks that they have several resources available on their website, which is lafourchegov.org. There you can sign up for emergency notifications, not just about hurricanes, but several different events. You can also apply for tiered reentry if you're a business. And he wanted to remind folks that while COVID might present a different situation regarding evacuations, he did want to let you know that pets can be part of your evacuation plan, but you have to register. That information can be found on, again, lafourchegov.org under their hurricane preparedness website. I talked to Earl Hughes over in Terrebonne Parish, and he gave me lots of helpful information. Their website is tohsep.com. So that's the Terrebonne Parish Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. The phone number there is also 985-873-6357. Also, you can sign up for text alerts in Terrebonne Parish. You can pre-screen for business re-entry. And he wanted to let everyone know that last year they implemented a new phased evacuation plan for Terrebonne Parish. If you go on that website, tohsep.com, you can enter your address in Terrebonne Parish and it'll tell you what part of the phased evacuation plan you're part of. Also, finally, to our friends in Jefferson Parish, they too have text alerts. The best way that you can get information from Jefferson Parish is on the Jefferson Parish Emergency Management page, which is jeffparish.net /departments/emergency-management. We'll put all of this in the chat, and we're going to share all of this on our different social media pages as well. Jefferson Parish has a hazardous preparedness guide. It also has a disaster supply kit. It has a hurricane checklist. It has their sandbag policy, and it has their citizen awareness information. So we will be sure to share all of that. I'll quickly type that in the chat right now. And we thank Jefferson, Lafourche, and Terrebonne for providing us with that information today.
Thanks, Simone. So if there are no other questions, I just want to take a minute on behalf of the COAST team to thank Ruby. That was fantastic. Feel free to use us as resources. We're here to talk to you guys about emergency preparedness if you have questions or anything like that. And so the video will be posted on Sea Grant's YouTube channel and then shared through all of the social media. And feel free to share that link when it comes out in the next couple days. Let's see, one little thing popped up in the chat box. Okay, so that's it. Thank you. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So I think it's just us now.
I think so.
Melissa, you have to stop recording.
I have to stop.